Watch this.
This is an opportunity for us to have this discussion, particularly in our school days and in our school districts, and make policies that are appropriate.
And based on policies that have shown success. Could a ban on cell phones in schools go statewide? It could if the money is right. Well, it's Halloween, if you haven't noticed. It's a good time to learn about what scares people the most. And some of these answers might even shock you.
I have no idea why we stopped there or why it was even started, but it was exciting.
Halloween on Harrison Boulevard has always been pretty exciting. But decades ago, the tricks might have gone a little too far. Like arson and destruction too far. This year has kind of been a watershed moment for kids and cell phones. Several school districts in Idaho followed the lead of Blaine County schools and implemented a no phones in the classroom policy. This year, it was Twin Falls, West Ada, Valley View, and the Emmett School District joining Blaine County, who did theirs last year, with some adding a little extra to their policy. They aren't allowed in school at all, even in the hallways for some, and with Emmett, they're not even allowed on the school bus. And it's worked well to improve grades and social skills at school, and so well, state leaders would like to see similar no cell phone policies go statewide. Joined by Governor Brad Little, Superintendent Debbie Critchfield signed the Phone-Free Learning Act today. It'll give school districts money if they adopt a cell phone policy by the end of this school year. How much money? Espen Schumpert has that answer and how it will work.
This year, several Idaho public school districts rolled out bans to keep cell phones out of the classrooms.
My initial thought was, why couldn't this wait one more year until after I graduate?
But hesitations wore off, and students and staff have mostly enjoyed putting their devices away.
It just change is hard, and I think it's easy to complain about something that gets taken away, but my grades are great. Like, a lot of my friends say that they have seen changes in their grades.
And now, some elected officials would like to see the cell phone policies go statewide.
We've heard a tremendous amount of positive feedback. Hey, I'm getting to know my friends better, or I have different friends, or I'm experimenting with clubs and hobbies that I might not always have done.
Thursday, Governor Brad Little and State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Debbie Critchfield, launched the Phone-Free Learning Act.
This is an official nudge of sorts, an invitation, asking and inviting our school districts to have these discussions in their communities so that a student going to one school in a district that has a policy, that we've got some uniformity on this issue.
And there's some money involved. Any school district that has adopted a cell phone policy by the end of this school year will receive $5,000.
It's the very tail end of the federal dollars that came into states during COVID. And so there's little pockets here and there that can't be utilized in other ways. That the money is expiring soon, and so the governor and I determined that this was a good use of that, a way to sweeten the conversations around getting these policies going.
School districts that already have a policy will get the money too.
One-time money, purchase the storage if you need it, or reimburse yourself for the storage that you've already purchased. But it's that little extra part, recognizing that for some, when a policy goes into place, there can be costs associated with it.
Critchfield says there's enough to cover all 190 school districts in Idaho, and it's up to the individual school districts what kind of policy they want to set.
It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's going to look different. That's intentional. It is something that we want to be locally driven and locally decided upon.
She hopes this creates more conversations about technology in Idaho schools.
There's research that will show that technology is changing the brains of our kids. It is interacting and changing the engagement, the person-to-person contact, the focus, the attention, the resiliency of our kids. This is an opportunity for us as a state to say, this is a priority issue. We care about our youth. We care about learning, but we also fundamentally care about our students and our kids.
The Department of Education says they plan to get the money to school districts as soon as possible, and that could go out in the next few weeks. Again, school districts will have until the end of the school year to introduce a policy that's going to work for them and their community and have time to get feedback from parents and students. Critchfield says she wants to give districts enough time to do that. Again, all of these policies look different in each of the school districts. We've talked about if phones are supposed to be in the locker or in the backpack or off the entire day. Emmett had that quirky policy that we've heard about of also not allowing them on the bus. They've since taken that out of their policy last month, so we're also seeing school districts revise them.
Oh, okay. Why did they say they took it out of the bus?
I haven't looked too much into it, so I'm not clear, but something to maybe follow is, are these also going to be changing and evolving? Okay, we talked about this before, like it's just up to the individual school in some districts. Right. But this new policy, or to get this $10,000, it has to be district-wide. $5,000, excuse me. Yep. It has to be district-wide. It has to be district-wide, and there's no rule on what that policy looks like. So districts can kind of work through that on their own. It doesn't have to be a uniformed policy across the whole state. All right, thank you very much, Aspen. We'll see how many jump on board. A judge put an end to Thomas Creech's latest attempt to put an end to his upcoming scheduled execution, but he may have one more shot, as Abby Davis tells us in today's 411.
Earlier this week, Thomas Creech filed another attempt to have his execution halted, and the judge threw it out. This time, Creech said he had 3 arguments claiming a second execution attempt would violate his constitutional rights. The judge dismissed it yesterday with prejudice, which means Creech can't file the same claim with the court again. But Creech does have one more appeal waiting in the system. As for now, he's still set to be executed by lethal injection on the 13th. You might think fire season is over now that we've had our first snow of the season, but turns out humans can still start fires. Yesterday, the Leeds fire broke out in southeast Boise, burning more than 350 acres. It threatened homes, burned a shed, outbuilding, and fences, all because someone started the fire. Exactly how it started is still under investigation. Thankfully, Boise BLM says fire crews got the fire fully under control at noon. Speaking of snow, the annual ski swap is happening this weekend. Now through 10 tonight and Saturday and Sunday, head to Expo, Idaho to buy or sell new or gently used ski or snowboard gear at a great price. It only costs $5 to get in today and tomorrow. Sunday is free if you bring 2 cans of food to donate to the Boise Rescue Mission. Some of the proceeds go to the Bogus Basin Ski Education Foundation, which aims to make mountain sports more accessible to kids in Idaho. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
Well, you missed a good story. I was going to tell you about the riot on Harrison, so screw you.
Okay, well, that was a voicemail we got last night, right as we were wrapping up Wednesday's 208. Karen, who left us that voicemail, was obviously disappointed somebody in the newsroom didn't pick up the phone when she called. But thankfully, Karen called back.
You were talking about different things that happened on Halloween on Harrison Boulevard in Boise. When I was in the 10th grade, I think it was 1956, we had a huge riot out there. Anyway, give me a call back if you want to hear about it. I'd be happy to tell you about it. It was so exciting.
The riot was exciting. And thank God Karen called back. And you better believe we called her back, too. Harrison Boulevard and Halloween have gone hand in hand for decades, kind of like Thing and Freddy Krueger, right? But if you think that mile stretch of road in Boise's North End is a bit disorderly in the 21st century with the thousands of people who parade on it, you should have seen it nearly 7 decades ago. Harrison Boulevard in Boise has always been big on Halloween.
Lucky for you, I'm not hungry anymore because...
Oh, sure, some things may be bigger these days.
I could swallow you in one bite.
But the entertainment level may never be as high as it was in 1955.
And I was proud to be part of it. No.
At least, not for Karen Jennings.
I had some friends from North, and these girls were from East that I was with.
That night, Karen and her high school friends, after hiking to Harrison to go trick-or-treating,
kids walking by,
heard there was a gathering at the end of the street.
You ought to come down here, you ought to come down here. And of course, we had to just, kind of just pop on down there and see what was going on. And here were guys that were juniors and seniors, you know, too. And oh my goodness, yes.
Karen told us it'd been an odd night already.
This was after the fire trucks had sprayed us to get us off Harrison.
Yep, fire trucks, trying to put an end to what was described as one of the wildest Halloweens ever experienced by peace officers and firemen. Apparently, earlier in the evening, several dozen teenagers had been gathering on Harrison between Lemp and Reidenbaugh, more focused on tricks than the treats. They set off fireworks bombs, set fire to leaf piles, even an apartment building, according to the Idaho Statesman. They also hauled a dead cat onto the pavement, threw eggs and vegetables at passing cars, and fired their ammunition at police officers and firemen. For 2 hours, police tried to settle down the revelers who, quote, yelled, milled around, and cursed. That's when the fire hoses came out to end the disturbance. But according to Karen, it wasn't over yet.
I remember Bobby Fisk's car being parked this way across the road so you couldn't, you know, go on through. And over here's where the cop car was, and there was people all around, and somebody jumped on the police car. Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, it was really something.
You had to have been scared.
No. No, it was exciting. It was fun. It was something different.
Did you get in trouble?
Well, yeah. I didn't say anything. And then it was in the paper the next day, of course.
And the paper said about 20 teenagers were turned over to juvenile authorities. But 6 18-year-olds, well, they were charged with disorderly conduct.
I know. They had to do something, though, didn't they? Oh, you guys, it was exciting.
Karen.
Yes, it was.
Can hardly contain her excitement. 69 years later. Looking back, would you do it again?
Yep. In a New York minute, as they say. I wish everybody would have that much excitement at least once in their life.
Oh, yeah, it was exciting for a 15-year-old Karen and for an 84-year-old Karen, apparently. Probably not so much for the Harrison Boulevard homeowners, though, back in 1955, of which Karen became one years later. She told us she actually lived on Harrison from 1989 to 2005, so she was one of the houses handing out the candy to all the kids who would show up every year. She told us today, back then, she would stop handing out the candy when she got to about 250 trick-or-treaters. That was enough for her. That was a lot, she said, which brings me to another tidbit we found while researching this Riot story. In 1952, there was a letter to the editor printed in the Idaho Statesman with a woman complaining about the 37 visitors she had had on Halloween. Like, that was too much. She wrote in, but then there was a resident of Harrison Boulevard who wrote back to say, 37, please, you think that's a lot? They wrote, quote, we have a mob. I've kept this record for the last 3 years. 1949, a total of 91 children. 1950, it was 62. Last year, 1951, 82. I always prepare for 75. Can you imagine if houses on Harrison only prepared for 75 trick-or-treaters every year? Well, these days, as you know, many of you know, they can expect 3,000 to 4,000 kids to walk up their front walks. On Halloween, or any time of the year really, cemeteries always jump to the front of the line when it comes to the creepiest places you'd like to find yourself. City of Boise maintains 3 cemeteries. There's Pioneer Cemetery off Warm Springs, Morris Hill on the Bench. Both of those remain active, meaning people still bury people there. The third would be the Fort Boise Military Cemetery, which was moved to above North Mountain Cove Road in 1907 from its original location just down the road. There hasn't been a burial there in more than 100 years, which is why the city of Boise calls it inactive, which isn't exactly the best way to describe it, as we found out 8 years ago. Settled on a slope of the Boise foothills, you'll find the final resting place of 247 people who passed through Fort Boise.
You'd either be enlisted or an officer, or a family member of an enlisted or an officer.
Sometimes Ken Reeves comes up here.
I do.
It's his job to make sure this 2-acre parcel appears pretty much as it did more than a century ago.
It's pretty straight away, as you would have seen it in 1906.
But some say the native grasses aren't the only things moving among the tombstones. Ken isn't one of those people.
They may have experienced things up here that I haven't. That's about all I can say about that.
Debbie Frediani, on the other hand,
but we did have some strange things, like something stroked my ponytail.
she says she'd heard about the odd goings-on here on the hill.
Reports of a child either being seen or heard, people being on the bench. Someone told me there was a soldier, just like he was standing guard, over the flag.
Debbie visited here a few years ago with her family.
And we weren't here 30 minutes. And we picked up that voice. We were up here for the day just to enjoy the sights, and I was taking pictures.
She's a paranormal investigator and just happened to bring her digital recorder.
I don't think I asked him anything else. I just said, if anybody is here, could you tell me your name?
That name,
and he came back definitely with the name,
Debbie says, was Jerry.
I think it was right here, actually.
And that was in the middle of the day.
It was 2:30 in the afternoon in August.
Imagine what could be found at night. But you can only imagine, because
the cemetery closes at sunset, so they're not allowed.
But for those like Debbie, imagining isn't necessary.
Yeah, I just feel like there's someone up at the flagpole, the soldier.
Brian Holmes.
And he's just watching us. He's standing guard.
Idaho's News Channel 7. Remember, it closed at sunset, so please don't try to go visit the Fort Boise Military Cemetery tonight. Okay, so with it being Halloween, we decided we wanted to put a wicked twist on our asking you to share our good news, or your good news, I should say. Instead, Hunter Funk went out with the assignment and the question, what scares you?
What scares you most? No politics. Did I spell politics right?
Okay, what scares you?
Women. I'm terrified of women.
Why women?
Because they're scary. They're pretty scary,
Are you scared of me?
No.
That's good.
But you're nice. I got that feeling like when you're in the water and there's a shark around, that's like women to me, man.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Is it because you're scared to talk to him?
Yeah.
What scares you the most?
Spiders.
Spiders.
Why?
Because they're like creepy crawly and stuff.
Which one are you scared of the most?
Tarantulas.
Why tarantulas?
They're big.
And hairy?
And hairy.
Black widows, because they're poisonous and venomous, and that's what scares me the most.
What scares me most is probably when I run into an old lady that claims to have held me as a child, and I have no idea who this is, and I just have to pretend that I know who she is, but then I don't really know who she is.
The fear of not knowing.
The fear of awkward social interaction. That's probably what scares me the most.
I mean, what did you say back?
Oh yeah, I know you.
What scares you most?
Clowns.
Why clowns?
They're terrifying.
Probably clowns, because the clown thing a long time ago, when I was young, it's scared me so bad.
They creep me out. They give me the heebie-jeebies.
They just look so scary for no reason. They're not supposed to be scary, but they are. That's what's the worst part.
What scares you most?
Being kidnapped.
Why is that fear?
I feel like as a girl, it's a normal fear. I don't know. It's my biggest fear.
Do you always bring around your friends?
Yeah.
Good.
Or pepper spray.
Jump scares. I was in a movie theater watching Wonka, which came out almost a year ago, and there was a scene where a tiger came out and it jump scared me.
Is that your hope for Halloween, is that you don't get jump scared?
Yes, that's my hope.
The fear of the unknown.
Why?
Because I like to be in control, and losing structure is very scary to me.
That's a very good point. You were also a very structured banana today.
Right.
Does that make you feel very confident and not scared?
Yes.
Like missing out, not getting to do all the stuff in life before I die.
I like that. Is that why you're dressed up and ready to go for Halloween?
Oh, no, I just like Halloween.
Why do you like Halloween?
It's just fun. It's just a fun night to put on a costume and just, it's a whimsical time of year.
And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Hey, you too.
Okay, so for the people that weren't shown during this, they say they're scared of news interviews.
Makes sense.
So I guess you can see why. I mean, I guess we're pretty scary. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm terrifying, and I'm a woman. Anyways, if you are scared of something, you can text us 208-321-5614 with your name and hashtag 208, and we'll share what you're scared of at the end of the show, too.
no, we'll try to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have one?
You go first.
My kid's not visiting me when I'm old.
Ooh, that's good.
Or being buried alive. I'm not sure which one makes me scared
those
more.
are scary. I'll just go with bills.
Bills, paying them?
Yeah.
Or just getting them? All
Just
right.
getting them, both.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy Halloween to you, and hopefully your day has been spooktacular thus far. Now we talk about a little bit of your local forecast with your local Wednesday Adams. And if you're waiting for more of the dry weather, we'll have to wait all the way until Monday, because Sunday we have continued chances of showers, and for mountain areas this will mean snow that continues to stack up. In valleys we're still talking about mainly rain. And during this time frame, all the way through Sunday, we'll continue to see temperatures staying below average for this time of year. And talking about the snow, this is the view from Stanley. You can see some of those snow showers a little bit in the distance there, but the views like this one where we can still see the ground may be changing as we get towards the end of the weekend. We still have some spotty showers that are out there right now, so it may be a little bit of some sprinkles that you see with your trick-or-treaters, but other than that, nothing too significant until we get into Saturday when more of that moisture starts to work its way in.
Of course, on Halloween, we would have ghosts in the machine, so we're not going to see the technology that brings it up on the screen for us. Oh, we got one. This one, cell phones are a significant addiction for everybody. Think about that, says Jay in Boise. And then we have Larry, who says he'd like to see the police officers follow their own rules of no cell phones in cars. That's another story for another day. How about Kim saying, I freaking love Karen. So do we. We all love her. And then Jennifer in Boise says, the people need a regular segment on the 208 with Karen. She's a gem, and I bet she has a lot more stories to share. Meanwhile, Bilbo in Meridian says, I'm scared of news shows where the hosts wear ties. You should be. You should be. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.